Now, panic is a really strange feeling. You intellectually know, at least I do, that I'm panicking. I know that I'm starting to feel this rising, bubbling, emotional state in myself, which is uncomfortable, and my heart starts to beat faster and I start to get sweaty palms and the top of my lip starts to sweat, and I can feel that panic rising. Now, I am a qualified scuba diving instructor and I taught around the world for many years as I was studying in between on my gap year, and I love scuba diving. Being underwater is like being in space. That's how astronauts train. So for me, underwater discovery, being in the ocean, swimming with fish, shark, turtles, coral, for me, it's just heaven. So when I was learning to become an instructor, I had to learn all the different skills. You have to learn regulator recovery, you have to learn how to take your BCD on and off underwater, particularly as you start to get more senior in the qualifications, dive master and then instructor. Now, one of the skills that you have to learn is mask removal and replacement. So in the early stages, they teach you to flood partially and then fully your mask. And then you have to then remove your mask, so flood it entirely, remove the mask, and then put it back on. So it's a really strange thing because your brain knows that you still have access to air. You know, your regulator is firmly in your mouth. But as the water surrounds your face, your eyes, your nose, and you feel the water start to go up the nose a bit, your brain panics. It immediately starts to think, I don't have air, I don't have air. And of course you do have air, it's in your mouth, but you have to somehow control your brain and let it know that you can still breathe. So most people, most students when they're doing this, hold their breath. Now, the number one rule of scuba diving is never ever hold your breath. Why? Because if you hold your breath, you can get lung overexpansion and you can die. It's really, really serious. So you should never ever hold your breath when you're scuba diving. So when you're doing the mask replacement task, you have to keep breathing. And particularly when you're being examined for your instructor's exams, you have to show that you're breathing. So they need to see the bubbles coming in and out. So I really, really had to work at controlling and being able to feel safe within that panic, and it's a really weird headspace to be in. The amount of times I faced my fear, took my mask off, put it back on, took my mask off, put it back on, to the point where I felt fully comfortable to even swim around underwater with my mask off whilst breathing, continuing the dive. That was how I beat my fear. And when I taught students and I saw them going through the same panic, I had such empathy for them because I knew how scary it is to be without your mask on. But remember, if you're underwater and you're diving and someone hits your mask with your fin and your mask falls off your face, you need to not panic. You need to not hold your breath and rush to the surface, because then game over. That's how I learned how to deal with that physical panic of drowning. And you know, your brain is there for survival and it's saying, get me out of this situation, hold your breath, go to the surface, all the things which are a big no-no with diving. Have you ever been in a situation where you find yourself panic, and how do you self-soothe? How do you calm yourself down? What do you do to make yourself feel safe, even if you can't get out of the situation? I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below.